Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brett Keene from God TV Radio. Make sure you check out my website, godtvradio.com. Something I've been asking myself for years is, why is it that atheists enjoy kicking dirt in the face of those that they think are weak or that they think are down? I'll give you an example. Not too long ago, there was a 13-year-old girl who was extremely popular on YouTube, who it turned out that she had cancer. She was going to die. And numerous people went over to her account and said some of the most horrific shit. Some of them actually said, well, I can't wait until you die. You know, we've got population issues. What goes through the mind of somebody who does that to a 13-year-old girl? What goes through the mind of someone who actually gets off or feels some kind of power or dominance to sit there and do that? Not too long ago, I actually uploaded a video where you see a preacher in an audience talking about a child that his mother made a choice, used her free will to do drugs while she was pregnant, and unfortunately the child was born disabled. So what happens is in the video, you see this child who clearly has a lot of issues. And the child is put in front of an audience and sings about God's power and love and strength. Now I get it. Some people are probably going to ask the question, well, why would God, allow a child to be messed up like this? It's pretty obvious that God didn't make the child messed up. It was because of the sins of the mother, this woman who was putting drugs inside of her body, why it is the child was like it was in the first place. But even though the child had problems and issues, it didn't stop the child from realizing the glory and love of God. The child realized that God has a purpose for every one of us. That child had more knowledge and understanding and wisdom about God than most of the atheists I've ever talked to in my entire life. I find it strange whenever it comes down to it, how we say that it's okay to do things like abortion. Even Richard Dawkins on Twitter, he said, if you think that your child's going to have Down syndrome or your child's going to be mentally ill or disabled, then you should abort. Just get rid of the kid. And this is kind of unusual to me in the first place, because atheists say that we are all genetically family, that we all evolve. And they say that one of the reasons why we're evolved entities, creatures ourselves, animals, is because of different anomalies that have happened throughout nature. At some point in time, the atheist says that we were just a slimy ooze floating around in the ocean, and that we evolved and did kind of a hopscotch thing from species to species. Went from like a reptilian-like creature to a mammal, hairy little mouses that lived on trees and shit, to evolve into a monkey that could play with tools and shit, and then the thing learned how to communicate with others, and then somehow one day ended up building an industrial age, an enlightenment age, and here we are, Homo sapiens, humanity today. So the atheist should be happy if there's some kind of genetic changes or anomalies, because that's how evolution supposedly works, right? Of course, some atheists who actually may know a little bit about evolution, they should know that it never said that things were going to be beneficial or positive for us. As far as we know, instead of evolving into some kind of X-Men bullshit from the movies, we could actually de-evolve in a sense. We could lose some of our abilities. We could lose some of our parts. According to the universe, we live by second law of thermodynamics, which is entropy. Now, some atheists are going to claim, well, that's a closed-in system. Well, we live in a closed-in system, morons. So sitting there saying that we live in a closed-in system and entropy works that way, I don't know how you think that gets you off the hook. Entropy isn't just a universe thing, it also is within us as natural entropy within our bodies, where we actually break down information over time. We don't gain information, and that's one of the reasons why many scientists out there even question the very concept. But my point is I don't understand, I guess I do. I understand that atheists are very nihilistic. You don't see any meaning and purpose, and you figure if someone doesn't think like you or someone isn't physically like you, then they must be shit, which would explain all the racism, all the hatred, all the intolerance towards people who think differently than you, believe differently than you. I mean, what is the number one thing that you see atheists say to people who believe in God? They, right off the bat, either bring up racism, homophobia, or they bring up some kind of bigotry. They'll sit there and say, well, you must be mentally retarded. You must be stupid in order to actually believe that there's a God. Why would someone be retarded, though, for imagining or even conceiving or perceiving that there might be more to this universe than what we could ever possibly know? Personally, if the entire world was simply retarded and everybody suffered from autism and everybody was mentally ill or disabled in some kind of way, I'd rather be around people like that who have sympathy and compassion and altruism and love than a bunch of pieces of shit who think that they know everything and treat everybody like scum. I kind of see it the same way I see a guitar player. I'd rather have someone who is trying the best that they can and have the heart in order to succeed, as opposed to someone who can play a million chords but they don't know what the hell a song is or even understand how to make something sound right, even though they know all the notes. So that's just how I feel about it. So whenever you come over to my comments and you leave ignorant ass annoyances and shit, and you make fun of my daughter, who does have issues, or you make fun of me, which I do have issues, you're simply telling me everything that I've ever known. The Bible, whenever I read it, it says that the wicked get off and hurt people. They enjoy it, no matter what your circumstances are. You're basically telling me that the Bible is true about what to expect from people without purpose, without meaning, who are godless, hateful fools. Peace and God bless. Have a wonderful day.
I was asked to introduce Christopher and give a little bit of a timeline on his life, and it's hard to keep my composure talking about Christopher's story. But he was born in May of 2011. 2001. Thank you. You can tell him, he can do it better than I can. I have to go back a few years, yeah. And his mother was on drugs, Oxycontin and cocaine. And he was a nephew of ours. And we went down to Florida and took him out of the foster care system in August of 2002. And he's been a blessing to our family. And he loves to share his gifts. And this March he was kind of discovered by the Union Leader and all the local media outlets in Boston. And he's been singing a lot of patriotic songs. But to back up a few years, when in 2004, Christopher was on his first mission trip with 8 Days of Hope. And at 4 years old, he went down to the front of the music ministry, and they handed him a microphone, and he sang the song he's going to sing tonight, "Open the Eyes of My Heart."
shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, holy, holy. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. To see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, holy, holy. To see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, 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 holy. Holy, holy, holy.